deep do you read into the comments?
I don't.
Yeah. It's like you're at a point, just don't.
My mom is the one who answers people back.
For real? I thought it was JC.
JC does.
Who answers your DMs, brother?
DMs?
We're starting right now. Wait. First question right now. Obviously, introducing Mr. Red. He doesn't need an introduction. Everybody knows. We're back with a Day in Miami conversation of gentlemen.
Yes.
And we got Robby. Robby speaks for himself. Many of you guys may not know him, but he is the brains behind the Improv, Copper Blues, goes as far back as Blue Martini and even Cafe Iguana.
Look at that.
There is some history there, yes.
Yes. No, yes.
All right, so
right here, I even have a tremendous gratitude towards this gentleman. They gave me my first opportunity in stand-up. So
that's incredible.
When I made the transition from content creator to stand-up.
So we're gonna start off right swinging, man. So we obviously we've been talking shit for a little bit here.
Yes, sir.
And you just told me right now who answers your DMs and comments. Robby was asking.
All right, so I have access to my page. Like I do a lot on my page. I really don't, but I do. I do a little bit of everything on it. But I don't have the time in the day to be on it like I used to a year ago. So my mom pretty much is the one that responds to everyone on the comments. She's the one that like takes that upon herself. She likes to do that. And then JC, my manager, will surf through my DMs and like change things up on the page, post things for me, post things for us whenever we have to, or etc. And there's times where I do reply, but dude, the reason why I just don't is because the platform itself, it's gotten so sensitive that you have to be very careful, like what you do. Like someone can say something and you reply and they find that threatening or whatever, and then just report it. And even though it's not, you get reported. Yeah. And so I don't, because of those reasons. I've gotten over it. It's to the point where it's like, this is absurd. Like whatever it is that all the flagging and stuff. So for me to get off of it, I was like, hey, you guys want to answer people? You answer people. I'm like, I'm not going to answer anybody anymore. I'm over it. That's it. I'm scared to answer people.
So does your mom like tell you like, hey, we have a troll right now online? How do I respond
She'll tell
to this?
me, yeah, she'll tell me every now and then. But for the most part, she's cool with it. She's been doing it for a while now.
Yeah.
And she loves doing it, dude. She feels like she's part of the
machine.
Journey and the machine. She's she'll be the one that she gets super excited.
Is she retired or?
Yeah. So I've had the blessing, thanks to everything that I've been able to do over the course of the last 2 years to, make sure my parents both are good.
Yeah.
She is retired and my dad is as well.
Yeah.
So
I gotta say something about Red really quick. And a lot of people that I've met before that I never had the opportunity to meet him. And actually, I had an opportunity to meet him via a client that we share, Accident Medical Group. Shout out to Juice out there. But a lot of people would tell me that Red es un pesado. Everybody es un pesado.
You know what that means, pesado?
I think a little bitter.
It means like he's an asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole. Bro, and you wouldn't believe, now that I got to know him a year, he is probably one of the softest people.
I thought you were going to go with he is such an asshole.
No, he's not. Listen, he's not as social, I think, as people would assume he is.
I'm not.
He's not. He's extremely creative and goes beyond even the imagination at times.
Yeah, I would say I didn't have as much of a background of hearing what people's opinions were about him, but just when you meet him, he's focused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They mistake that you thinking about what's going on. You're here to work. You're here to get, to grow, to get stuff done. Yeah. And they don't understand that that's just your mind like thinking. And they take it as, oh, he's not friendly or talkative, I would assume. But yeah,
I've always been introverted. I've always been like, listen more. Listen, don't talk.
Yeah.
I've always been more of a listener.
I live by the rule. I know what I know, right? But I don't know what you know. So if I interject and I talk more, I want to lay out a context where you feel comfortable. So you're just going to, feel comfortable to talk. I'm not giving you my opinions to counteract. Who cares? I don't care. I want to know what you know about whatever it is we're talking.
But you know what? That's something that I like about you. And the short time that I've known you, I talk to people all the time. Been doing this for 10 years now, and different business owners from different levels and different industries. And believe it or not, most business owners are not as open-minded as you are. Like,
oh no,
I talk to you about opportunities, and you're the first one to say, what can we do? How can it work? How do I go about it?
Yeah, I don't get why. I honestly have no answer as far as maybe this. I have no idea why in today's world anybody wouldn't have that mentality of going into any relationship, especially with someone like you and the resources that you have immediately. You can acknowledge that, and you've got a passion and a skill set. It's like, yeah, let me kind of explain what I'm thinking, and then I want you to run with it, right? Why would I limit you? Why would I limit,
Some people have no vision, and that's not,
That's a
it
good
is what it is.
At the end of the day, it is
They
about
just don't
vision.
see it.
Yeah, they don't see it. A lot of people see black and white,
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you, man, if I had a guy hanging over me, an accountant saying, he would tell me I'm the worst businessman in the world. But my vision is growth. And I'm like, let's just go with it, let's just crank out. And it works for me, maybe not work for other people, but I'm extremely inclined to risk.
What you do is ballsy too, dog. Like I've been around you, and I know that you like to take risks, and you're not afraid to. Like, it doesn't bother you, and that's a feat. That's a quality that a lot of people don't have. A lot of people are more conservative, especially with their fucking money.
Yeah.
Hard-earned money. Like, not everybody's like that. So
Wait, we can fucking curse?
We can curse.
We're allowed to curse. I didn't know which way this was going.
But
frees me up a little bit.
This is gentleman conversation, man. We talk about whatever the hell we want here. This is our moment, And honestly, I think the reason why I was talking to Robby earlier, and I've told you many times, the reason why we started this, which happened about 2 months ago, was to have these like conversations of like the nuances behind people's lives and how they got to kind of like where they are, and ultimately show the good side of Miami. We have plenty of content out there of the bad stuff of Miami, and then I started reading in the comments everybody talking bad about the city. The city sucked. But I was telling you earlier, the city doesn't suck for me. It doesn't suck for you. It doesn't suck for
Not at all.
Like, there's a lot of good people out here trying to do good things, and there's a lot of talent out here too, which leads me to the next conversation. Comedy in Miami has, I feel, erupted the last couple of years or so, especially on social media. I'm not 100% sure how comedy translates from social media to the Improv. I would like for you to tell the viewers and talk a little about the story behind how you were able to get Red on board and how you saw him transitioning from being, like, I guess, a quote-unquote influencer, which I don't really like calling him that, to being on stage.
The specific story about Red was actually, I know Melissa, shout out to Melissa.
Yeah, Melissa and
Improv, Justin. Melissa and Justin.
Shout out to Jane Bird.
Enormous with the comedy Improv. When you said I'm the brains behind the Improv.
Yeah, how long have they been running?
They've been running the Improvs for, I don't want to get the years wrong, but they ran West Palm for.
They're almost at 10 years, aren't they?
Yeah, they're over 10 years.
They've been there for a minute.
It's hard. That's a hard industry too.
They do a great job, bro.
So she spearheads our program as far as getting new talent and looking for new shows. We call them one-nighters usually. And I know she had reached out to you, and I get this is definitely before COVID. And we hadn't gotten a response, but actually JC sent a cold email into the info.
So I think what happened was, the story starts with me running into a wall with marketing right when COVID hits. Marketing dollars from brands, everybody was kind of in like a standstill. Nobody knew what was going to happen when COVID first took over in 2020 of March. When that happened, I was at a standstill with content. Like, there was nothing for me to make for brands.
Wow.
And it was like, what do we do? Like, we have to pivot. And then I mentioned to JC at the time, I go, well, listen, a gentleman named Dom from the Have Nots, he had me attempt to do a show at Magic City Casino in 2017. I hate, like, honestly, like, it's not, like, I hated doing it, but brother, like, where we are right now, I'll do it. I'll give it another shot. And he's like, I'm reaching out to the Improv right now.
Yeah.
And then, brother, within 48 hours, we had a show.
Yeah. No, I immediately saw it, reached back out. I think I called Melissa and confirmed, like, I know you'd reached out because you were on the list of people that when we started this thought of, like right now, it's a constant weekly basis. We're looking at Instagram and different social media accounts of what do we think of this, look at that. Back then, it was a thing, but not as big as it is
like
now.
a scouting. Like scouting.
Oh, so you guys have a team scouting for comedians?
I'd say, well, yeah, our team is our management, and on our corporate level, my partners.
They got to put someone to perform up there in order to fill the house. So, like, their job is to get good people up there and make sure that the community is responsive to these people and wants to come out and have a great time.
So, yeah, let's take a step back to finish the Red question. So then that immediately, like, I responded right away. I think JC and Melissa immediately got together, and like he said, in 48 hours, there was a show set up. It was a no-brainer.
And then for me, Thomas, it was sold out in 24 hours.
That's incredible, man.
I was like, whoa.
But how did you get prepared for your first bit?
I didn't. I literally walked into everything like I walked into this podcast, like, what's going on? All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's hit the stage and
go. So for me, that's how that's the best learning experience.
The thing that I kind of like in thinking back, you don't rely on your characters in the
No,
show as
no,
much,
no,
which
no.
is something, you know, a lot of
We
people
tried
that
it.
do that, but yeah,
We
no,
tried
it's-
one show of it, and there's legs to it, but it's not what I wanted to make it about.
Yeah.
I wanted to try the art of stand up. For me, it's more of a storytelling.
And how often are you doing stand up now?
I've been doing up to now. I've been doing two shows at the 2 weekends at the Improv, and every now and then we'll go up north to Tampa, Orlando area if it permits. But I've been wanting to take more of a back seat on the stand. I want to focus more on the content.
Gotcha.
So that's really where I started. I got into stand up because the times that came made me struggle with content, but I want to try to pivot back more to content. Still do my stand up, but pivot more and focus heavily on content. Because
has the stand-up, being that it's obviously an uncomfortable zone for you, has that kind of like been like a good muscle improvement?
It is. It is. I'm
forcing you to do that.
I'm grateful for the opportunity. When I say that it's been uncomfortable, it's because it's not what was on my vision board growing up, or at least when I took it upon myself to go down this avenue, it was always film. It was always like make movies, make big.
You told me about that.
Right. It was never. Listen, this is a byproduct of that. I'll happily do it, but it's not something that I feel comfortable doing. Like I was doing, you got to understand too. I also, within me, like it's fucked up for me to do the same show the whole entire year everywhere I go, having people come out over and over again. So the reason why it became difficult for me was because I was writing a new show every time I went somewhere.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So it became taxing on me, and it's a due diligence that I'm doing to my fans. Like, yo, if you saw me in Miami in June, you're not gonna see the same show in December. I'm not gonna do that to you. You paid money to be here to see something new, so I'm gonna give you something new. So yeah, it became taxing on me creatively, managing everything. So that's why I want to take a step back. It's to be able to develop better content so that these people, when they do come out, can actually enjoy a full 100% new show done the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people realize what it takes to be creative. I think people just think it just happens and stuff like that.
It's time. It takes time.
I think it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of like focused energy, you know, and you got to do a lot of research, like into the psychology of what makes people kind of like tick, you know, kind of like marketing.
Yeah. You get that with experience. If you have more experience, you can bypass that research, that homework that you would have to do, but it does take time.
And I think a lot of people I've talked to that mostly aren't creative, they think creative is like this, just a natural born talent you have. And all of a sudden, the way your brain works, you just come up with some ideas and then it just flows. And granted, sometimes it works that way, but I use the reference when we're coming up with creative for the businesses from a marketing perspective. It's even like some of the shows that we're getting involved with and producing. It's how good you can learn to work with creative and work with creative people versus how great the idea is. You can take a subpar idea and make it an amazing, successful 100%. Show or
100%.
Skit versus an amazing idea that just kind of falls apart along the way.
Well, I think that's the important part about it. Like anybody can think of an idea, but to execute that idea is really the most difficult part, you know? And the world is filled with people who just like have tons of ideas, but they just don't do anything about it, you know?
10% idea, 90% work.
100%. Going back to you, when did you realize, okay, I'm funny, I'm gonna do this, you know, like I'm gonna be I'm gonna start doing skits? When was it that kind of like that moment came to you?
It wasn't even that. It wasn't even that I'm funny. It was never about me being funny. It was about listen to this, look at this journey, look at this. This is a glimpse into something that happened to me. So I started recreating moments that happened to me, either growing up or dealing with people. That's what it was. I started first off creating skits that were like real life scenario things that happened to me. And that's how it started. So it was never about funny. I wanted people, yo, this was a funny situation that I was in. And this is how that person was acting. Like, that's how I started creating content. And then from there, it was as life went on, things continued to happen. And it was just like, I got to film this.
What's the time frame on that? Like, what year was
I left Baptist Hospital in 2015. Okay. When I left Baptist Hospital, my dad had a stroke. I pretty much started taking care of my dad a little bit. I took a back seat. 2 years, I was taking a back seat. In 2 years, what I was doing was just studying. I was studying, again, King Batch, Rudy Mancuso, Anwar. These people are like the biggest people at the time on Vine. They were the biggest Viners. They were they were the group that started with Lele Pons, Hannah Stocking, Logan Paul, Jake Paul. It was all of them all together. They were a group in LA. I started studying specifically King Batch, but I fell in love with pretty much a lot of people in the group creatively, like what they were doing. I found it funny. I found so many inspirational things that I could do from my point of view. And that's what they were for me, an inspiration. So 2 years doing homework. I didn't start till 2017. In 2017, when I moved back down from Winter Park, Florida, because I was up there, when I came back down, that's when I was like, all right, bro, I'm doing this full time, 100%. I'm going to go for it. And then it was the grind. It was the grind of making content for 2 years and then figuring out, like you said, how did you monetize? It took 2 years.
I'll never forget you told me one day, you said, Ed, make content for 90 days, every day, put a video, and you're going to find out who you really are and what your angle is and who your audience is. And here we are.
You know who told me to do that? I had a meeting one time with a very wealthy man, and this is the guy that I was coming to for information. I was seeking on, like, yo, can you, like, help? And he's like, I'll help you, but I'll help you if you do this. And he's like, create content for 90 days.
Well, you know what? I've been creating content now almost 90 days, so I took that to heart. I said, if this guy's doing something like that, I knew that something's going to hit,
He put me like on a military regimen. He's like, if you want to create, you want to be a content creator? All right, do it every day of your life. Yeah. Do it every day. Every day post something. Show me that this is what you want to do. Like, first of all, because he was like, you're only moving if there's money involved. He's like, if you're going to move only if there's money involved, then you don't passionately want to do this. It's not something you want to do. You're only doing it if there's a dollar sign there. So he's like, create for the people, and then everything else will come.
And then you have people like us that create videos, and then you have people like you that create these massive companies that, go all throughout the United States.
He's creating events every day.
And you're always kind of like trying to find new things to do, like that bubble dome that you want to bring out to the city. Yeah. I don't want to talk. I was going to ask you a little bit later, like at the end, what are your new projects you have going on? But tell me a little bit about how you started getting into this career, of creating these type of businesses that are, very successful.
I'm trying to think how to parse it and get it. I mean, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is, when I was the first event I ever threw, I was in high school. We had I think it's called Exchange. It's like a fraternity sorority thing, and I became the president my senior year. And I collected all the dues for everybody that was new, and it was a one time my parents left me alone, and I threw one of the biggest parties I'd ever seen in high school, because I'm from Broward, so I went to Nova. I had most of my friends that I was really tight with and grew up with went to Plantation and South Plantation. Had a bunch of friends at St. Thomas and all these other schools. And literally the road to my house, like on the street I was on, I clocked as 3 miles. And there were flyers for this party all the way down the 3 miles, around the corner.
The original project.
Your parents had no idea.
Oh, well, so I did one thing. I locked the house up. And so we had a big backyard. So the party was in the backyard. But I did it. I kind of like, even looking back, like I'm like, all right, I set the speakers up over here. I set the sound system up over here. I set the bar up over here. We had, the pool area over here, and, kind of like had a flow going. And so in thinking back, I always had a mindset. I didn't get drunk at the party. I mean, obviously I was underage, so it wasn't really, But that, like, I enjoyed throwing the event without realizing that was what I was doing. So that developed into college, undergrad at Florida State. Very easy place to have some very successful big parties at. Had a good time there. Then came down, was in graduate school at Nova Southeastern. And in that time, there was a concept that was opening up in Palm Beach. The CEO and founder of the company I had worked for before in the nightlife.
What year was this?
2000. Yeah. I had worked for him at another concept we talked about, Cafe Iguana. And I was helping out on the weekends while I was finishing up grad school. And then it wound up just blowing up into this opportunity. And I was originally going to move to New York. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to work with this company. And that company was Blue Martini. And from 2000 to about 2015, 16, I was just on the move. I was the operating partner that handled all the openings. So I was able to do, I mean, Palm Beach, Tampa, Miami, Vegas, Phoenix, Dallas, Seattle, Naples, Orlando, like
Over
a
a
part of
dozen
all
locations.
that. Yeah, a dozen locations. And it was, at the time, I was just young and hungry and loved what I did. I mean, it was, you're throwing a party every night. That's what we did.
I think throwing events is one of the most difficult things. You know, I've had a handful of campaigns of throwing events, and there's no bigger pressure than being in the location. The event starts and people ain't showing up. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like you feel the weight of the world on your
Well,
shoulders.
the night before, where you're like, is anybody going to show up?
Correct.
You know?
And that is very difficult. So going back to the concept that you helped open up Blue Martini, there was a time, and I think COVID kind of ruined Blue Martini a little bit, but prior to COVID, Blue Martini was the hot spot to go to.
Well, without going too far, I left 10 years ago. So I can't speak to the day-to-day operations going back. You know, I can speak up to that point. I can't speak after that. But what I would say is most of their locations have been open for over 15 years or outliving their leases. That's saying a lot in the hospitality, food, and beverage industry to be able to last that long. And a lot of them are still open. So, yeah, there's something special there. But in the beginning, and that initial run from 2000 right up until the real estate bubble, I mean, it was an explosion in every market. I mean, some of the things that I saw in Vegas, you know, I would never imagine could have happened. I mean, opening week in Vegas, we had every major executive from the Strip in our location, including Steve Wynn, including the Maloofs, who at the time owned the Palms Casino, which was hot at the time. All of MGM executives, like the handshakes that I was doing. And when I moved there, and I was there about 4 months beforehand, I went to any place that was a bar, any place that had live entertainment. I went to all of them in that city, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're not in a casino. There's no way you're going to make it. No way, not a chance. You have to be a part of that." And I didn't get that vibe from the city. I'm like, no, there's people that live here that want to just have a normal life. Like, this is a good product. And it wound up being extremely successful. Still open. I mean, it's going on its 15th year now.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like, I can see how the locals are like, nah, I don't want to go to the Strip because that's like the tourist.
Oh,
area.
you feel like you're tourist trapped.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, listen,
makes
I
total
have
sense.
a lot of stories of Blue Martini. A lot of stories.
I've definitely heard that before.
And for me, it was one of the places that I used to enjoy going to. You know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Wednesday was ladies' night.
Wednesday, I think it was ladies' night.
Is it still?
I'm sure it probably still is. The Brickle one and the Kendall one. Get really good. You know, and you start becoming friends with people. You know,
They, like I said, for those first opening years, I mean, and for a good 10-year period, they're strong. They're strong, real strong.
They're strong. And then, how did you transition from Blue Martini to Copper Blues and the Improv?
So, while I was not knowing at the time, but I was at the tail end of my time in operations. There's partnerships and then there's operations. Devoting my time to the operations with Blue. I was at the tail end. I was living in Vegas at the time. I had just taken the store over and kind of restructuring operationally a little bit. And I had a really close friend of mine who's the president of our group right now, Joel Bashkoff, shout out. He's the big part of the comedy side of what we do together in our partnership. And him and I became really close friends. We're roommates for periods of time. When he opened Hard Rock, I opened Fort Lauderdale Blue. He was opening Hard Rock Improv. We were roommates at that time together.
Wow.
Yeah, two just young, aggressive kids, just 7 days a week working, nonstop, going at it. Him and I connected and did a couple comedy shows together. He became an investor in Blue. I became an investor in their group. And then he started a new concept out in Phoenix called Copper Blues. That was around 2010. And I started basically coming in and helping him with it. I'm like, I visually saw, I'm like, listen, I'm seeing what the market is shifting to. And Copper Blues with a couple of tweaks, like this is right in line. This is going to be a huge hit. So that developed to about a year of working with him. And then the right time was, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to, kind of just shuffle down to Phoenix and live here for a couple years and work with you there and help grow this concept.
But that was a Copper Blues one.
That was Copper Blues, yes.
And then how did the Improv come about?
So, the Improv story is way beyond me individually and a lot of people. The Improv started in I'm not even going to say years to
Yeah,
get it wrong, but it started in New York. A gentleman named Bud Friedman. He opened up a little lounge club for Broadway performers to kind of have a place to do their thing afterwards and hang out like in their own little circle. And there was a little stage. They could go up and do little skits and do that. It wasn't even open to be a comedy club. There were no comedy clubs. There was no stand-up comedy at the time when this happened. And that on that stage, that's where stand-up comedy started. That's where the name Improv came from. I think it's like improvisational theater or something. Yeah. The full name,
which Red's very good at.
Yes.
Thank you, Bud Freeman, man.
And then
he's opened up the doors.
And then Bud, there's so many great stories with him and how he grew the name. And Bud Friedman left New York to open up a club in L.A. Had a gentleman named Jay Leno in the car with them when they drove. Yeah, the stories. There's Jay painting the ceiling of the L.A. Improv. Just a lot of cool stories because he was the originator, and Improv was the originator of stand-up comedy. And from there, it's exploded to fast forward to today to so many great concepts, so many great stages out there. It's a huge thing. So for the Improv, that's kind of how they started. And I came apart because our group, we have the Arizona market and South Florida market right now for improv comedy clubs.
Yeah, and how have you seen like improv, or not technically improv, or comedy like grow in South Florida?
So
is it a difficult market?
I like the word entertainment as well, because with my Blue background, I mean, there was a time where our group was responsible for booking all of our stages 7 nights a week. So you're talking about in South Florida alone, 21 gigs a week that we're booking for music and sometimes different variety acts, a couple of comedy shows here and there. And then with comedy as well, enormously grown the last couple of years. But what I would say is, when I was moving around doing all the openings, Miami was I always loved Miami. There was always something special about Miami. I would always say Miami is my favorite city out of all of them. New York, LA, wherever. I always had an infatuation with Miami. And I knew I'd wind up back here, and that's where I wanted to kind of, it is. It's such, you know the obvious things. It's diverse. There's a lot of talent here.
There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it in the vibe of, I remember when I went to Vegas and they're like, oh, this is Vegas. It's crazy. It's partying. It's 24/7. I was like, the only difference between Vegas and Miami is just naturally you're out till 2, 3 in the morning.
I would say the size of the clubs.
Yeah, the size of the clubs. But in Vegas is just like everybody from everywhere just trying to like go nuts.
Yeah.
Miami, like if you live here, I'm not talking
forced.
about the tourists. Yeah, exactly. It is forced. Miami, you're just naturally just going with the vibe of the city.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Every time I leave, I just find myself coming back.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've traveled, a decent amount around the world. I love this city, and I'll probably never move out of here. And every time I land in this country, I kiss the floor here, I kiss the floor of this place.
Well, real quick, back to your question about the talent and pertaining to Miami specifically. How have I seen it grow? I've seen it grow, which Red could speak better on, but with social media and just the generalness of accessibility to talent and talent's ability to really just take a phone and get started, right? So you've got this enormous explosion of actual talent. But the city of Miami is having its heyday right now. Yeah. When you look it's a global event with how much attention Miami gets. So you compound the amount of talent in the city, the diversity of the talent, the exposure that's Miami's getting globally from investment to different jobs, the market to everything all together. There's just the vibration in the air, in the water. You combine all that and just the feeling in Miami right now is like, wow, it's endless. The opportunities are absolutely endless.
I think that the times are pivoting. Like LA and New York were known for, like the music and the entertainment industry. And I think with just everything going on in the world, a lot of people have been leaving New York and California. And that migration that we've been having for the last recent years, I think a lot of things in Miami's starting to become a hub.
Yeah, 100%.
Everybody used to say, oh, let's go to LA to link up. Now it's like, oh, let's go to Miami, link up. So I think just things are changing. I think the city's becoming more of a place where people want to be. And all these things are now coming here.
Well, and I feel you didn't even have a choice back then. Like, you are a perfect example. You would have had to have left a couple years ago to LA or New York if this was 15, 20 years ago. There's no choice. You couldn't, I should say, make a living down here. And technologies allowed people that are able to do it. So you can really, devote the time to your craft.
To your question, Lewis is the one that shed light on this. I think that we now have 3 types of performers on stage. We have the people that carry the old art of stand-up original. You have these new people that come out of Comedy Central, SNL, that they've made a living now transitioning from skit comedy to that. And now you have the social media stand-up comedians. Yeah. So there's 3 different... the market now is there's a lot more players in the game, different types of players in the game.
Which I think is good,
There's a draft now. There's an overseas draft. There's an online draft. And then there's a local draft. There's a lot more people in the game.
What I think I like most about comedians, at least the traditional ones, is that they are, quote unquote, allowed to be kind of politically incorrect, they can actually voice themselves,
Yeah. I think we're winning it back. I think there was a period of a couple years where the people were a little scared to get canceled, the cancel culture whole phenomenon thing, and I think it's coming back. It's at the end of the day, most comics that I know, when they talk about it, they're like, why would you? What comes out of my mouth? Why would you allow that to affect you? Have no idea who I am, and pretty much I'm just some idiot on stage.
And you paid to
trying to make you to laugh, and you paid to
be here.
Yeah, listen, I've gone to the Improv, and we had Louis, and I'm hoping that I'm the one selected where they're gonna make fun of me and stuff. It's it's cool when you can sit around people and make fun of each other. I know people don't think like that, but I don't know. I think if you can't poke fun of each other, life's kind of boring.
Comedy is the perfect thing right now for where we're at, because the whole premise is you can't take life too seriously, right? And we need some of that now with the way people are, with the cancel culture and with all that. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's you can't take life too serious. Yeah, you're not gonna get out alive.
Yeah,
that's a quote that I saw a long time ago.
Yeah.
What do you hate? I usually ask this to a lot of people, with a platform like yours. What is it that you hate most or that you dislike most about being, I guess, Mr. Red?
That people don't know that I'm Alex.
So people will go up to you in the street and say something funny.
Yeah, they'll come up to me and they expect me to be the character that I've created, or everything that I post. They expect me to be a version of that, and I am in my best of times, that is who I am. But we're not in that space all the time. Life, I have a son now. I'm married. I have a family. Things happen, we all deal with a bunch of things going on. Just because I post something doesn't mean that everything is fine with me in general. Yeah. So people sometimes just approach you and they have high energy, and rightfully so. They're very excited. They're seeing someone that they admire, but at the same time, it's not their fault that I'm down. But you got to understand, what bothers me is that I'm not always up for it. I guess I'm not always in the mood. Do you understand?
Yeah, of course. You have moments.
And you're human.
Because of that, I would say that. But again, I can't blame them for that.
Yeah,
they don't know, and
it's their moment to see. But that happens to me often. My phone's blowing up all day long, and I get
Be more human.
Yeah.
Just understand that when you see me, I am a human being just like you, and I'm suffering like you in just different ways.
Yeah.
So just understand that. Just because you catch me at a certain time, it may not be the right time, But it also has to do with how people approach you.
100%.
Because there's people that are like, dude, sorry to bother you. Just big fan. I just wonder, can we take a picture? Hey, bro, 100%, no problem. And there's other people that are like, yo, métete dedo en el culo. And I'm in the middle of Target shopping for deodorant. And it's I look that way. My wife is like, do you know that person? I'm like, no. I don't, but hey, yeah, sure. I don't know what to say at that right moment, right? It's awkward. It's weird.
But you naturally are a funny person.
Naturally,
we were at the Martins Park the other day, and you're hanging out funny.
I say those are the parts that upset me. I know exactly how to respond, but again, the mood, the feeling, am I in the moment? And all that. That's just it. I don't mind it. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. But I guess at the end of the day, Mikey's with me a lot of the times when it happens, and we laugh at it most of the time.
Yeah.
most of the time we look back at it and we will reenact what that person did, and we'll just laugh at that the rest of the day, you know.
I can't believe that.
So we ride with it. But it is like, so there's a lot of uncomfortable moments, bro. He's been there. There's people, sometimes I'm just walking, talking with Mike, somebody just comes up to you, mira mami, look who it is, look.
Oh my God.
And it's like,
well,
hi mommy. I'm like, hi mommy, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how are you? It's super weird.
What would you say? I mean, you've been doing content for a long time. Is there like one video or something that always stands out to you? Like, that was my most viral video, that was my favorite video.
The method till this day is still like what people most of the time on the street, even kids, like, bro, it's crazy.
What's that? How many views did that get?
I have no idea, because at the time it didn't show you.
Got you.
It just gave you likes.
So it's just going out through there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it had to have gotten, at that time I had like 70, 80, 90,000 followers. I must have gotten millions of views.
So you have videos with 10 million views.
Yeah, now, but at that video at that time, it had to have hit millions. I just don't know the number.
Yeah.
Because it didn't tell you views at that time.
And and I was gonna ask you, just not putting you on the spot or anything, but do you have like a top like 3 comedians right now that you personally like, or?
I mean, Mr. Red.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
That's an interesting question, because people ask that a lot, and it's kind of like it depends on the mood. There's so many different talent out there.
I have 3, and my 3 are gonna be like, what?
I'm a huge fan of Sam Morril. We actually have him coming down in August. Yeah,
Sam
he's out in New York. Really, I think he's a smart style comic, and I like his style. We just had Nimesh Patel.
You might know.
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Nimesh. I like his feel on stage. He's very like comfortable and smooth.
He's witty.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, our company has been around for a long time, and we've got a whole machine that handles the bulk of the comic. My personal thing that I enjoy.
So many people.
Yeah, my personal thing that I enjoy is what kind of like where I feel I add to our company the most is working with the local people that have the skill level to go global or national. I like that. So I really have enjoyed, working, we're getting involved in producing shows. We're doing these game shows with talent just to kind of give them something else to do, this element that they can work their craft, earn a little bit of money, and kind of just get on stage more. I think, Miami, adding that element adds to the ability for talent to kind of grow.
And do you have any new projects on the way, or anything that you have coming in the next couple months? Or?
So nothing I would say to announce. I've got two projects that, maybe if it fits, we'll come back and announce them. But I'm excited, and it's all in South Florida for right now. I mean, all in Miami. I want to stay down here and keep growing, and the city's been very good to me, and I want to try to keep being a part of it. Yeah.
And before we go, Red has said earlier, I wasn't aware of this, that FSU at one point was an all-girl school.
Yes, I believe until 19.
Can you elaborate on that, Mr. Red?
I was doing some research because, I have a big vendetta against my FSUers, and it's nothing personal. I never even went to UM, but since I grew up in Miami, I have to, stand true. I started Googling just to be able to get some facts to throw at these people, and I was like, I found out that in 1905 was when they made the switch. Before 1905, up to then, they were an all-girl school.
Some would say they're still an all-girl school.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Okay.
That's why I had to have that research. I had to have that ammunition on my side to be able to fire at my FSUers. Whenever they lose, I'm like, don't take it personal. You guys,
you've come far.
You've come a long way.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. All right, boys. What a real pleasure having you guys in
Likewise.
here. Would love to bring you guys back at one point as well, too.
Yeah.
For sure. It's been a pleasure.
Sir.
Robby,
You're good, Ben?
as always, my brother. Thank you.
Did you guys take a picture?